All right, so are you ready to dive into this self-help stuff?
Always.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. And, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you sent in a really interesting book review from Medium
Yep.
and a super detailed summary from
Wait.
Books That Slay. So
It's going to be good.
I think we're ready to unlock some serious potential here.
Definitely.
Let's see if this book actually lives up to
Yeah.
its bold title, right?
The title definitely makes a statement, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen in these sources, I think Sincero's not afraid to kind of challenge, how we think about personal growth, all that.
Totally. Both sources seem to agree that self-doubt is like the ultimate dream killer, right? It's not just, feeling insecure every now and then, but that self-doubt, it can lead to some serious self-sabotage.
Yes.
And keep us from going after what we really want.
Totally. And it's interesting how both sources
Yeah.
really emphasize this point, She's not just pointing out the problem, she's really pushing readers to confront these limiting beliefs, these negative thoughts that we have about ourselves that basically become like
Roadblocks, exactly.
to our full potential.
And the book really encourages some deep introspection, right?
Yes.
Figuring out where these beliefs come from,
Absolutely.
why we cling to them, like what's the point?
Yeah, and Sincero even uses this really powerful example
Right.
with the belief that money is the root of all evil.
Oh, wow.
And she's saying if you're holding on to that belief, deep down, it's going to be really hard to build wealth because
Right.
on a subconscious level, you might be sabotaging yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah, because a part of you believes that having money is wrong.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really concrete way to show how these beliefs play out in our lives.
Totally.
And this is where things get even more interesting because the Medium review
Okay.
dives into her exploration of subconscious beliefs. So she's arguing that these beliefs are formed during childhood. They can really linger and affect
Yes.
how we react to situations, the fears we develop, even the ways we sabotage ourselves.
It's like these early experiences
Yeah.
create this blueprint that affects us even as adults,
A blueprint, wow.
We may not even be aware of these beliefs, but they're so powerful.
So basically, our childhoods can mess with our adulting.
Yeah, pretty much.
That makes,
The thing?
that resonates. I'm sure we can all think of times where we've held ourselves back.
Exactly.
So something we wanted and maybe a subconscious belief was at play.
Definitely.
But how do we even begin to kind of unravel
Right.
these ingrained patterns, these things that we've...
Well, I think Sincero's answer lies in the power of self-love.
Okay, self-love.
And Books That Slay really breaks down her approach.
Hold on, self-love. I'm intrigued, but also a little wary.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
Yeah.
it feels a bit fluffy,
I hear you, but Sincero's talking about something much deeper, more radical.
Okay.
It's not just accepting yourself. It's about truly appreciating and celebrating who you are, even your flaws.
Okay.
Recognizing that you are worthy.
So less I'm okay and more
Exactly.
I'm awesome.
Yes.
Exactly as I am. I like that.
And the Books That Slay summary highlighted
Yeah.
that she actually gives us tangible strategies
Okay.
to cultivate this self-love.
So it's not just like a concept.
No, it's practical.
It's an action plan.
Yes, she talks about self-care, setting boundaries, and forgiving yourself.
Forgiving yourself, that's huge.
Yeah, like she's giving you a toolkit to build self-worth and confidence.
And wouldn't that be essential
Oh, absolutely.
for any kind of personal growth, right?
I think so, because if you love yourself,
Yeah.
you're not going to settle for less in any area of life.
You deserve the best.
Exactly.
And speaking of going after what we want,
Yes.
Sincero has a really refreshing perspective on money.
Yes. Both sources highlighted that.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because a lot of self-help books, they kind of demonize wealth
Right.
and make you feel bad for wanting financial abundance.
Yeah.
But what is Sincero's take?
Well, she really challenges that whole money is bad thing.
Okay.
She wants us to examine our own beliefs about money
Uh-huh.
and uncover any negative associations that we might have,
Interesting.
and then consciously shift to a more abundant mindset.
So wanting money doesn't make you greedy.
Exactly. It's a resource.
Okay.
It can be used for good or bad.
Right.
It all depends on your intentions and actions.
And I love how both sources mentioned
Yeah.
that she believes when you have a healthy outlook on money,
Yes.
it can actually flow into your life more easily.
That ties into the law of attraction,
Okay, the law of attraction.
which she also explores.
I've definitely heard of it, but
Yeah.
it feels a bit out there sometimes.
I know, but she breaks it down in a really accessible way. It's not just about wishing. It's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with what you want to manifest.
I see. So it's not just sitting around hoping things magically appear.
You got to put in the work.
You got to take action.
Yes, and both sources were very clear about that.
So Sincero's a big advocate for taking action.
Huge. She believes positive thinking is powerful, but it has to be combined with action.
So it's like that saying, vision without action is just a daydream.
Exactly.
You can't just expect the universe to hand you everything.
Right, you got to put in the effort.
So it sounds like You Are a Badass combines this inner work of mindset shifts with the outer work of actually taking action.
Absolutely, and Sincero doesn't shy away from the spiritual side of things either.
Okay, tell me more.
Which might surprise some people.
What does she mean by spiritual? Is she talking about religion?
Not religion specifically, but more about recognizing that we're all connected to something bigger than ourselves. She calls it source energy.
Source energy.
And she wants us to tap into the source for guidance.
Interesting.
Almost like plugging into a power outlet.
A cosmic power outlet.
Yes, exactly.
This is getting deep.
It is.
But I have to admit, I am curious.
I am too.
To learn more about this source energy.
Well, it sounds like we need to keep diving into You Are a Badass then.
I think so.
But before we do, what stood out to you so far?
Honestly, I'm really intrigued by this combination of practical strategies and this more spiritual element.
It's a good mix.
It's like she's acknowledging both our inner world and the external world and how they can work together.
I agree. That's a great observation.
I have to admit, I'm always wary of self-help books that are too preachy or dry. Did the review mention her writing style?
They did. They praised her humor, her personal stories, and her straightforward advice.
Oh, good.
Seems like she's having a conversation with you.
I like that, like getting advice from a friend.
Exactly, and that makes it easier to understand even complex concepts like the law of attraction or source energy.
So what I'm gathering is Sincero isn't just about positive vibes.
No.
She's giving us a toolbox, mindset shifts, practical strategies.
She wants us to be the architects of our own lives.
Pretty badass.
It is.
But I'm curious to hear more about her practical advice.
Well, that leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, let's do it.
We'll explore the specific strategies she outlines in You Are a Badass to help us overcome self-doubt, embrace self-love, and really manifest our dreams.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do it.
So we've talked about the mindset stuff, but I want to know what she actually tells us to do. Like, what actions can we take?
Well, the Books That Slay summary had a lot of detail about her practical strategies.
Okay.
And one of the key things is setting clear intentions.
Okay, setting intentions. That makes sense.
But she really emphasizes being specific about what you want.
Okay.
It's not just, I want to be happy.
Right.
You have to define what that actually looks like for you.
So it's not just like a vague idea.
No, it's got to be tangible.
You have to visualize it.
Exactly. She even suggests writing down your intentions as if they've already happened.
Interesting.
Like, I am traveling the world instead of I want to.
Wow, that's a powerful shift.
It really helps your brain believe it's possible.
But even with clear intentions, taking action can be tough.
I agree.
Does she give any advice for overcoming that?
Yes, she has a whole section on procrastination and fear. And her advice is actually pretty simple.
Right.
Break down your goals into smaller steps.
Oh, so instead of this huge, overwhelming goal, you make it bite-sized.
Bite-sized, exactly.
That's a good strategy.
And she says even a tiny step is better than nothing.
Right. Just get started.
She even says set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And just work on your goal for that time.
That's a good trick. It's like you trick yourself into taking action.
And often, that's all it takes to build momentum.
Yeah, once you start.
You just keep going.
But what about when fear gets in the way?
Sincero says fear is natural.
Okay.
But we shouldn't let it control us.
Right.
She says reframe your relationship with fear.
So don't avoid it.
No, lean into it.
Lean into it, okay.
Acknowledge your fear, give it a voice.
And then what?
Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay, so face it head on.
Yeah, and you'll often realize the consequences aren't that bad.
Sometimes we make fear bigger in our minds.
Exactly, and even if things go wrong, failure can be a learning experience.
Does she talk about that?
Yes. She emphasizes embracing imperfection and learning from mistakes.
Mistakes happen.
They're part of the journey.
It's how we respond that matters.
Exactly. It's about having a growth mindset.
Seeing challenges as opportunities.
And she says be kind to yourself when you mess up.
That's so important.
Everyone makes mistakes. It's true. They don't define us.
This is so refreshing.
I know. It's not about being perfect.
We're all human.
And this ties back into self-love. When you love yourself, you're more resilient.
More able to handle the setbacks.
You don't beat yourself up as much.
You see it as a chance to grow.
And that self-love helps you in relationships too.
Relationships. Okay, what does she say about those?
She says, surround yourself with positive people.
Good people.
People who support you.
And set boundaries.
Yes, communicate your needs clearly.
And walk away from toxic relationships.
If they're not serving you.
You deserve the best.
Exactly. Prioritize your well-being.
And she also talks about setting boundaries with yourself.
Yes, that's an interesting one.
Boundaries with yourself, what does that even mean?
It's about honoring your own needs.
Okay.
Saying no to things that drain you.
Even if it's coming from yourself.
Even then, it's about respecting your own limits.
So it's about self-respect.
Exactly. Knowing you deserve your own love.
And taking care of yourself.
That's empowering.
It allows you to make the best choices for yourself.
Even when they're tough choices.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot. She talks about intentions, procrastination, imperfection, boundaries.
It's a whole package.
What makes her book stand out from others?
Well, her writing is engaging and relatable.
We talked about that.
She uses humor, personal stories, makes it easy to understand.
But also, she combines the practical with the spiritual.
Yes, she doesn't shy away from those concepts.
The law of attraction, source energy.
But she also gives us real strategies.
A good balance.
It's like she's bridging the gap between our thoughts and our actions.
Making it all come together.
Exactly. And she makes it empowering and inspiring.
She reminds us we're capable of amazing things.
We have the power to create the lives we want.
And she encourages us to tap into our inner badass.
To make it happen.
What about you? What resonated with you the most?
Honestly, her belief in self-love.
Self-love is so important.
She sees it as the foundation for everything.
Yeah, we're not always told that.
It's a powerful message. We are worthy of love.
Just as we are.
And that unlocks our potential.
Yeah, it is refreshing to hear a self-help book talk about self-love.
Right.
As a strength.
Not a weakness. Yeah.
And it seems like she actually backs it up.
Mm-hmm.
With concrete ways to cultivate it.
Totally. She gives you the steps.
It makes it more powerful.
Absolutely. It's a call to action.
I think that's what makes it so compelling.
It is. It's the perfect mix.
Of inspiration and actual advice.
And it's all delivered with her humor.
Speaking of humor.
Yeah.
It struck me how she tackles these kind of heavy topics.
Right. Self-doubt, fear.
All those things.
Limiting beliefs.
But it doesn't feel preachy.
No, not at all.
It's not heavy.
She's really good at that.
Yeah. She brings in the humor.
She does.
The personal stories.
It makes it relatable.
Yeah, and less intimidating.
Exactly.
It's like she's giving you permission to laugh at yourself a little.
Totally. Embrace your imperfections.
Yeah, don't take it all so seriously.
Have fun with it.
I think that's what makes her so appealing.
I agree. She's like that friend who gives great advice.
But doesn't take themselves too seriously.
Exactly.
So after all this, do you think You Are a Badass lives up to its title?
I do, based on everything we've talked about.
Could it help someone become more badass?
Absolutely. She gives you a roadmap.
A roadmap, okay.
To change your life.
So she gives you the tools to identify those limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm. And challenge them.
Cultivate self-love.
Set boundaries.
Take action.
It's all there.
It's like she's giving you permission.
Yeah.
Step into your power.
Embrace who you are.
Create a life you love.
And she does it in a way that makes you feel good.
Empowering. Entertaining.
Totally. It's about embodying this new way of thinking.
It's more than just reading a book.
It's about being a badass.
Making those dreams happen.
Exactly.
Well, I'm feeling pretty inspired.
You too.
I'm adding this to my reading list.
Same here. It sounds like a powerful book.
For anyone who's ready to embrace their full potential.
I think so.
And that brings us to the most important question.
Okay.
What will you do with this information?
That's the real test.
It's one thing to read about it.
It's another to actually do it.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive,
okay,
we want you to think about something.
Yeah.
All the key ideas we've discussed.
Mindset, actions.
Self-doubt, imperfection, source energy.
What one small action can you take today?
To move towards a more badass you.
It could be tiny, like writing down a limiting belief.
Or maybe a self-care ritual you've been neglecting.
Or just visualize your dream life.
For 5 minutes.
The key is to take that first step.
No matter how small.
It all starts somewhere.
Every journey begins with a single step.
You got this.
And remember, you are capable of amazing things.
So go be a badass.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've gained some insights.
And inspiration.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing,
And keep being awesome.
We'll see you then.